I'm Mike Manalo from the Nerds of Color. How you doing?
Good.
First off, you guys are fantastic in this. I just loved. First off, Danielle, I'm a huge fan. I've been a fan since seeing you just wrestle with dinosaurs in the Jurassic series. But most importantly, Faye Valentine. You brought Faye Valentine to life. I miss her so much. I love her, and I want to see her again someday. Honestly. And just you being such an outspoken person as well on social media. Has something that's touched my heart, and I've really loved seeing all of that. And absolutely, and Remi, you're fantastic in this movie too. Just seeing you just take action is wonderful as well. If I could start Danielle with you, just a quick question. I mean, between Jurassic, how's it feel really just getting into action, and how'd you get started with just being this action star, this action hero?
Oh, wow. No one's ever called me an action star before, but I will take it. Well, what's so funny is that when Plane came into my life, it was such a different taste, a different flavor from everything else that I've done. Jurassic World, she's like competent and outspoken, and Faye Valentine's obviously like notorious and iconic and, but a badass. And Bonnie is also a badass, but in a very grounded, different, very real way. And I really was, sometimes when you get so many parts, you're thankful for the work, but then you think, I guess I'm always going to be that girl. And Bonnie was so refreshing because I felt like it's an action movie, but it was the acting for me was challenging. I wanted to test myself, and I wanted to see how real I could make her.
Sounds perfect. You did a really terrific job. And just seeing you be this emotional center for Gerard Butler, it makes a lot of sense coming from an actress like yourself. Remi, I mean, your story is legendary. Just going from Navy SEAL to actor. I mean, what was that transition like for you?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I was in grad school. I got out of the Navy in January 2016. I was already in grad school when I got out. I was getting my master's in business, and I received a phone call one day asking if I would consult on Transformers the last night, and that kind of started my career from there. So my goal was I ended up finishing my master's, but my goal was to go into business consulting, not going to Hollywood. But once I got in, just my passion, love for storytelling began to grow and grow and grow more. That's when I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So it was a very fortuitous transition.
Well, you're standing tall with the great action stars like Daniella Pineda here. So yeah, just phenomenal work.
Actually, Pineda is my cousin's name, but my last name's Pineda.
I'm sorry.
But Pineda is like the next closest thing to my name. So I'm like, oh yeah.
I knew that in my mind, but it's thank you. Apologies for that.
Yeah. Also, isn't it so funny? These actors are like struggling to get in the room and struggling, and Remi just gets a phone call.
I mean, I try to say it humbly, so hopefully it doesn't come off the wrong way.
And at least you brought it. You brought it, so that's good. So I know that a lot of people are really excited for this movie. I had people when I saw the trailer in theaters during Avatar, people were clapping and having a great time watching it. But I will say, in the interest of full transparency, I am a Filipino reporter for the Nerds of Color, and I do actually have to ask, I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on really the depiction of the Philippines and Filipinos in this movie? Because to me, I felt like it didn't really paint us in the most positive light, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Sorry.
Remi, go ahead.
I've being a SEAL, PACOM was a place that we would deploy to in the Philippines, and there's multiple islands in the Philippines, right? And so I know that the way we isolated, in my opinion, way the writers isolated was this specific island, this one island that's controlled by the separatist group, there's actually multiple islands in that area that's controlled by Al-Qaeda and Jaish and other Filipino groups, and which I know about, but they didn't really talk about the vastness and how spread it was. They just isolated it to this one island, Jolo Island, which is accurate and pretty true. But what I like is that they didn't say, hey, all of the Philippines, all of the Philippines is this way. It's just this one small island. So I think that was and you have bad guys everywhere. You have bad guys in America. We have bad guys in South America. We have bad guys in Africa. I was born in Nigeria, so I've seen a lot of bad. My father was pretty much killed by the Nigerian government, and that's why we fled to the US. So even me being Nigerian, I know that, there's bad guys everywhere. And so, I didn't see it that way, that the Philippines as a whole was depicted in a bad light. My hope is that it doesn't come off that way to Filipinos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I will say, Mike, I understand where you're coming from, because and I'm sure Remi knows this too, but for instance, if there's any portrayal of Mexicans, it's always a gangster, it's always cartel, it's always narcos. And on the one hand, that's a very real element, unfortunately. So on that, I kind of personally relate, but it is true, there are bad guys anywhere and everywhere. But I will say that I do hope for the Filipino actors who are some of the lead guys in our movie, that it does help launch them and launch their careers. And I think being an actor is portraying both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
So I feel like you could portray a movie anywhere, and there's going to be a good guy and a bad guy, and that doesn't necessarily speak on everyone as a whole.
Absolutely. And for the future, I'd love to see like a Filipino hero to kind of counterbalance a lot of the villains that you get in this movie. Did Charles Cumming and JP Davis, the writers of the film, did they by any chance provide any insight as to why they chose the Philippines in particular versus maybe a fictional setting, or maybe an unnamed set of hostels?
Well, the original script jumped around. From what I was told, that originally it was set in, I want to say Syria, something like that, and then it jumped to Africa. Because I remember when I auditioned, the script I had, it had taken place, I can't remember where in Africa, but someplace in Africa. And then when I went to go shoot, it had moved to the Philippines. So I know that the original script wasn't. I think
at one point it was Antarctica, and there was a group of rebel penguins that were going to take over the plane.
I would have seen that. That would have been amazing. Just like snowball fights instead of like bullets. That would have been fun. I kind of, for me, I love the approach when, there are two schools of thought with action. You can go realistic with these sorts of movies, or you could take the Top Gun approach where you don't necessarily name a bad guy and, you may become the highest grossing movie of the year and are in the conversation for Best Picture, So, there's lots of ways that you can approach this. So, I wanted to get the insight there, and thank you guys for sharing that. That was really good. How was it like working with Mike and Gerard? These guys are legends,
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. Mike is such a goof. I love him. I had so much fun with him. And Jerry's awesome. I mean, thank God Jerry's just a nice guy. I think first and foremost, one of the reasons why I agreed to do the movie is that Jerry has a really good reputation for being kind and being fun, and he really pushes himself. But, having number one on your call sheet, be easygoing and fun is pretty essential to what your experience might be on a project. So, we got very lucky. It was fun.
Yeah, I second that. Jerry was awesome, man. He was like a cool coach, he gave pointers and he respected everybody, and it was just a nice balance. And then Mike Coulter, that dude was hilarious. I had a lot of time with him on set because towards the end of the film, our characters get together, but a lot of laughs, stories. We hung out in town a couple of times, and we thought we were in a comedy club as much as we were laughing.
I was lucky enough to speak to Mike not too long ago for his show Evil, and he really is the nicest. So I love that he's in this movie. I love that he's getting the big screen treatment and fighting alongside legends like yourselves. But yeah, I honestly, this is going to be a very fun movie for a lot of folks, and I'm really happy for you guys to be in this movie that people are so excited for. So really thank you guys so much for all your time. Really an honor to talk to you guys, and looking forward to seeing the audience is seeing Plane and to seeing the return of Faye Valentine.
Thank you, Mike.
Of course.
Maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC. In full color, you see me. The Hard Knock Life.